and welcome to Level Up Your Inner Power, the podcast where we explore how you can shift your energy to level up your life. I'm Juliet Martine.
And I'm Danielle Flood. And today we're exploring part 2 of a conversation we started last week about self-confidence. In our last episode, we talked about how self-confidence is actually our natural state and how when we start to develop the habit of self-doubt, it can really erode our sense of self-confidence. If you haven't listened to episode 12 yet, you might want to hit the pause button right now and add it to your playlist queue so that you can listen to it next, because in it we share some really powerful tools to help you transform the energy of self-doubt, to strengthen your self-confidence and empower you to move forward more easily in your life. But what about those times when your confidence takes a real beating? When something happens that leaves your self-confidence in tatters and totally shattered? How do we recover our self-confidence during those times when it's taken a real hammering? And as you're listening, are there any occasions in your life when your self-confidence has taken a real beating and it's caused you to really question yourself and your abilities? Maybe you got fired from a job, or maybe the man you love left you for another woman. Maybe you had a really humiliating sexual experience. Or maybe you failed an exam you thought you'd absolutely ace. Maybe you froze on stage during a performance or mid-sentence during a presentation. Maybe you've even experienced business failure, or you've found yourself on the streets and homeless. Or you've been stuck in cycles of addiction that have caused your self-confidence to hit an all-time low.
Yeah, these are all really real examples, Danielle. You know, when we go through these kinds of life-shattering experiences that can be really soul-destroying for us, it can leave us with strong feelings of shame and failure in ways that we just kind of want to curl up in a ball and hope that life will somehow swallow us up whole so we can hide away from everything that we're feeling and we don't have to face the world again. And, you know, in particular, shame can be an incredibly strong and powerful energy that can totally destroy our self-confidence. We spoke last week that self-doubt undermines self-confidence, but shame, it can totally destroy it.
Yeah.
And, you know, for myself, recently I went through some major shifts in life where it felt like everything was falling apart. My closest friendship of 20 years ended abruptly. I had to sell the home I was living in that I absolutely loved. My business direction fell apart. A guy I was dating suddenly ghosted me in a way that totally broke my heart wide open. And it was like this quadruple or quintuple whammy that totally shattered my self-confidence. And I was really faced with the choice. Do I lean into how I'm feeling to explore the energy of what's going on underneath? Or do I kind of avoid feeling into my own uncomfortable feelings and instead, you know, turn to those coping mechanisms to pretend I'm not really feeling the way I'm feeling? And as you're listening, you're probably thinking of your own favorite coping mechanisms, like maybe a good old binging strategy. That's my favorite, you know, keep myself occupied, receiving a few dopamine hits in the process by binging on food or TV or social media scrolling, or maybe for you it's video games or retail therapy or, you know, another coping mechanism that we can have is actually complaining about the situation.
Yeah.
And getting stuck in that negative loop over and over again, keeping ourselves in a victim mindset and reaffirming our lack of power and ability to change the situation.
Yeah.
Or, you know, we might have a coping mechanism. You've mentioned this before, Danielle, you know, using alcohol, or maybe for you listening, it's weed or drugs or using sex to escape and make ourselves feel good. These are all, you know, coping mechanisms that we turn to when our self-confidence has been completely shattered.
Yeah, we absolutely do. And I know for me, I definitely had my fair share of coping mechanisms. I mean, in my previous relationship, it was so toxic. And the way I coped through that was through sex. And it was a way of me trying to feel wanted and feel connected and feel like I mattered. And then when that wasn't really giving me what I needed, then came drugs and alcohol. And I used them to numb my pain, to blur out all of the discomfort and the shame and the self-doubt that was eating away at me. And the scary thing is that coping mechanism became such a part of my life that I didn't even notice how much it was controlling me. And I didn't notice that until I actually had the courage to face it. And then when I stopped numbing the pain with alcohol, with drugs, with the sex, I thought I had it all figured out. And I turned to exercise and I'm thinking, well, this is healthy, right? This is a great way to really just reset, realign. And I threw myself into exercising like crazy. But you know what? I didn't even realize for the longest time that too had become a coping mechanism. Even though I thought it was all healthy, but it was such a coping mechanism for me. And it wasn't just about getting fit. It was about trying to control something in my life when everything else felt so completely out of control. And that's the tricky thing. Our coping mechanisms can feel like survival tools in the moment. But if we're not careful, they can keep us stuck and prevent us from facing whatever is going on underneath. And they really stop us from stepping into the full confidence and power to help us take the next steps to move forward in our life.
Really, really great point there. I guess the real question we need to explore here is what's going on for us underneath that's causing our sense of self and our self-confidence to really collapse.
Yeah.
And why do we lose our self-confidence in these situations instead of being able to pick ourselves up and just move on? Because, there are some people in life who experience exactly the same stumbles and falls as we do, but after a while they pick themselves up, they, dust themselves off and they just keep moving forward with life. It doesn't seem to destroy and shatter their self-confidence in the ways that it can for some of us. And you probably know of people like that or know someone yourself who's like that. Someone maybe who's experienced a major business loss only to get back up again and start a new business venture from scratch that's even bigger and better than the one before. Or someone who's been, dumped by the love of their life and absolutely heartbroken. And then you find out 2 months later they're dating an incredible new partner who's an even better, more compatible match and soulmate than their previous relationship was. Or someone who's been sacked from their job only to, manifest an even better job with their dream company just 2 weeks later,
Yeah.
What is it?
Yeah, what is it?
what is it that causes us to really lose our self-confidence? And what is it that's different about these kinds of people that we can learn from? So we can not only prevent our own energy from spiraling downwards out of control when we experience a major setback in life, but we can actually learn from them to be able to elevate our self-confidence in ways that not only gets us out of the dumps, but actually propels us onwards and upwards in life, no matter how great the fall is that we experience. When our self-confidence takes a major body blow, I've generally found it with myself and my working with clients is that it's often because we're doing one of 3 things that we don't realize we're doing, or we're kind of getting caught in one of 3 traps. So I thought we'd just go through what these traps are so that maybe as you're listening, you can identify which one kind of trips you up and what you can do to get yourself out of that pattern and that trap. So the first thing we tend to do without realizing it, when the first trap we kind of get caught in when our self-confidence takes a mega hit, is that we take things personally.
Ugh, we sure do.
I was going to say, I'm sure you can relate to that, Danielle.
Oh, gosh.
Good job.
A lot of people around me that can relate to that as well. My goodness.
I am, hands up in the air, guilty.
Yeah,
I take things very personally.
My hand up in the air as well. So totally.
Yeah. So, what does that mean, taking things personally? It means we make what's happening in our life mean something about us. We transfer the situation, the circumstance, the setback onto our sense of self. And suddenly it's no longer about what's just happened. It's about who we are as a person.
Yeah.
You know that feeling when something goes wrong at work, maybe, instead of thinking, oh, that project didn't land quite well, our mind goes straight to thinking, I'm not good enough. That's my bad, who I am as a person. Or a relationship ends, and instead of thinking, oh, maybe we weren't the right fit, we immediately go to, oh, I'm unlovable now. Mm-hmm. Or an opportunity maybe doesn't come through, and instead of seeing it as, okay, the timing's not quite right, or things are a bit out of alignment, or we need to redirect things, that voice inside is saying, no, I'll never make it. I don't have what it takes. This is a failure. It's all doomed. And so we start to internalize the situation and make the story of what's happened become the story of who we are.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is when we start to take things personally, we give away our power to the story we're telling about ourselves. And that's the thing that starts to cause our self-confidence to collapse, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Here's the thing, the people who rise out of the challenges they experience, they don't fall into that trap. They don't take things personally. They don't confuse the experience with their identity. And so even though they might fail at something, they don't label themselves as a failure. And even though something might go wrong, they don't make it mean that who they are as a person is wrong. They might question their strategy or their choices or their timing, but the one thing they don't question is their worth, their identity or what they're capable of as the person that they know themselves to be. So here's the first key to being able to reboot your inner power of self-confidence at any point in your life. And it's this: stop taking things personally.
Let's just say that again. Stop taking things personally. Like it's a really important first key.
It is. We have to separate the event from our identity and try to see things with a more objective light. So instead of asking, well, what does this say about me, this situation that's gone horribly wrong? Instead ask, what does this say about the situation? Reframe it. Instead of being, oh, there's something wrong with me, it's like, well, what's not right here about the situation? What's not working? And step out of the self-blame. Look at the situation with a more objective view. See where maybe, just maybe, other people might be projecting their own stuff onto you. Sometimes when other people criticize us, it's showing more about their state of mind, their insecurities, their view of things rather than who you are as a person. So another way of not taking things personally would be to ask, is this really about me? Or is it maybe about what's going on for the other person?
Yeah.
And then a third way to really, break this pattern of taking things personally is to use a zoom out perspective. Imagine seeing the situation from a bit more of a distance, as if you're maybe watching a movie. And ask yourself, if I wasn't personally involved, how would I see this? What advice would I give to a friend who's in this situation? Just having that bit of distance to see things from a higher perspective can really help us stop taking things so personally and bring back a bit more of that objectivity to the situation that makes it less about us and more about what's actually going on. And in that way, we stop eroding our confidence in ourselves and maintain our energy at a more stable and anchored level so we can take the next step from there. So that's step number one.
Yeah, and that last bit, like what advice would I give a friend in this exact situation, is something that I use, and I use with people I'm coaching or friends and family, because it actually does make you look at it in a different way and it stops you from taking it personally. So it's a great one to highlight there, Juliet. And so the second thing we do without realizing it, or the trap we get caught in when our sense of self-confidence becomes really crushed by our life's experience or circumstances, is that we get caught up in scarcity thinking. And we start believing that we'll never be able to experience the thing we've lost ever again. We start thinking there's only so much love or so much opportunity or so much success available for us. Like we believe the world is somehow limited. And you know that feeling, you're thinking that you'll never find another love as deep or as real or as the one that you had before. Or believing that you'll never land another dream job again. Or thinking, I'll never feel confident enough to put myself out there or to speak up or to really show who I am. Or maybe it's seeing a friend succeed in something you've been trying so hard to do and your inner voice says, I'll never get there. There's only so much for people like me. These are all thought patterns that keep us stuck in a scarcity mindset. And they're simply projections of a scarcity program that we've been conditioned to buy into that reinforces the story that we've been living in a limited world and there's only so much to go around. And if we're not good enough, then we're going to be left out. That there's not going to be more for me because who I am is lacking in some way. But the people who bounce back from life's challenges don't get stuck in a scarcity mindset. They don't see themselves as lacking because they're not taking things personally. And as a result of that, they develop an abundance mindset. They believe they're living in an abundant universe, an abundant world and reality in which there's more than enough health, there's more than enough wealth and love and well-being and prosperity to go around for you and for me and for everyone else. They know the universe is bursting with infinite possibilities and limitless opportunities that are just waiting for them to step into. And they operate from a place of inner abundance, knowing that absolutely anything and everything is possible.
It's really chalk and cheese, the two mindsets, isn't it? Scarcity and abundance.
It really is. And that is the second key to leveling up your inner power of confidence. It's when it feels like life has given you a beating, that's when you adopt this abundance mindset. And you can do this by being aware of when you're starting to think scarcity-based thoughts and turning your thoughts around. Like catch yourself saying, I'll never, or there's only so much, and then pause and ask yourself, what if there's actually more than enough for me and everybody else? Or look at the proof of abundance around you in nature, in opportunities, in relationships. Take notice of the endless sunrise and sunset cycle, the countless leaves on a tree, the way ideas never stop flowing. The more evidence you train your brain to see, the easier it becomes to see that abundance is the natural state of the universe we live in. And also celebrate other people's wins. Instead of feeling threatened, practice saying their success is proof of what's possible for me too, as a way to shift your energy into living from a place of abundance. And one of my favorites is start using gratitude as a way to amplify your level of abundance. Focus each day on having gratitude to naturally open yourself up to receiving more. Scarcity says there's not enough, but gratitude says, look at how much there already is.
I love all of those tips. It really helps to entrain our brain to look for the abundance, and whatever we focus on, we become.
Yes.
So they're really great tips. So, stop taking things personally, embrace an abundance mindset. And then there's a third thing that we actually do, or we can get trapped into without realizing it, of course. We don't do any of these things deliberately. They're just kind of things we do on autopilot.
We do.
When life throws us a major curveball that shatters our self-confidence, we can get caught in the trap of starting to feel like we're a victim.
Yeah.
That big V word. We can slip into that mindset of, thinking, oh, why is this terrible thing happening to me? And instead of seeing that it's happening for me, we can blame the circumstances, the timing, the people, and start to believe that, life is out to get us, people are out to get us. But the key thing to remember is it's not possible for us to have a strong sense of self-confidence whilst ever we're operating with a victim mentality. They're like, not chalk and cheese, they're like water and oil. The two just don't mix.
Yeah.
We can't have that victim mentality if we want to rebuild our self-confidence. So the third key to leveling up your inner power of confidence when it feels like life is, giving you a hard time is to actually look for the hidden gifts.
Yeah.
Because I promise you this, there are always, always, always hidden gifts in every setback we experience, even if they're not obvious to us at the time. There's always a wound that's wanting to be released, or a limiting story, or outdated mindset that's needing to be, dismantled and dissolved. There's pathways that are taking us off track from our greater potential that are now coming up to be corrected. So even when it feels painful, to remind ourselves that this is happening for me, not to me. That, for me, that the universe or my soul or whatever language or term feels comfortable for you, that bigger power is creating an opportunity for your growth, an opening there for growth, sometimes in ways that are even bigger than we can imagine for our next level of life to take place. To remind ourselves of that is really powerful. For example, a job loss, we mentioned that before, that could be redirecting you to a career path that aligns with your deepest, highest purpose. Or a breakup could be pushing us to heal old patterns and finally attract a relationship that's truly meant for us and fulfilling and healthy and vibrant and alive. Or, the financial setbacks, they can be teaching us strategies and perspectives that can multiply our financial abundance in ways we never thought possible. I have to say, from my own experience, I found that sometimes the bigger the hit to my self-confidence, the more my soul is wanting me to expand. And it's that spiritual truth. You've probably heard this, Danielle. Just when you think it's great for you with Heiko hiking, just when you think you've reached the top of the mountain and you can relax and enjoy the view, you look up and there's another even bigger mountain waiting for us to climb.
Yeah.
And we have to get out of that victim mindset and think, why is this happening to us? And realize it's not because life is trying to punish us or beat us down, but it's because our soul is inviting us to level up and to stretch and grow and expand our comfort zone and elevate ourselves and our energy so we can really level up our life.
Yeah.
So to turn that mindset around and to really look for the hidden gifts within the situation, instead of asking, why is this happening to me? We can look to explore what's the opportunity or the lesson here by asking, what's happening for me? What can I learn from this? How is this situation, no matter how painful it might be, how is it helping me to grow and evolve?
Yeah.
Or if we find ourselves, getting caught in that trap of blaming and getting caught in our own frustration, we can start to just get a bit curious. Try and ask yourself, what limiting belief is coming up here for me to see? What skill or strength or inner power can I start to develop from this situation that's helping me to grow? How might this situation be moving me towards a better path that I wasn't even able to see before? I've certainly had a lot of experiences in life where that's the case. and to look for the hidden gifts, it's like the silver lining. Where's the silver lining here that I hadn't seen before? Maybe losing a client teaches us how to diversify our income more, or maybe a failed project shows where, we needed to adjust our priorities. Certainly relationship breakups or health scares can be showing us where we need to adjust our priorities, or maybe a conflict with someone reveals patterns in how we're showing up in relationships that when we change those patterns, we actually show up more fully in life. So, I'd always encourage you to use a journal to reflect on your experience and to list out or, bullet point out the potential lessons and the gifts and the opportunities that are coming up for you to see. And maybe even use your journal to celebrate previous setbacks. Look at previous situations where your self-confidence has taken a real beating and then ask yourself, how did that challenge in the past actually make me stronger or wiser or help me to grow in whatever ways? Because truth is, our soul doesn't give us more than we can handle. And every setback we face always contains hidden lessons and opportunities and gifts that are waiting to be uncovered. And when we remind ourselves to see every hard knock as an opportunity to learn and grow in unexpected ways, it's not the ways that we expect, it's always unexpected ways.
It sure is.
then that's when we really level up our inner power and our growth. So they're the 3 tips.
And that right there is like boom. Mic drop, please. Right there is how you level up your life to turn lemons into lemonade, lemon cake. Hey, what about limoncello or whatever else you can turn and want to turn that into, because it's that they are the keys. Stop taking the situation personally.
Yep.
Adopt an abundance mindset. And you look to find the hidden gifts in whatever major challenges it is you're experiencing. Now, does that mean you'll never find yourself at the bottom of the mountain again? No, absolutely not.
Oh, really?
No, that's not what we're saying here. But it does mean no matter what happens, you'll always be able to lift yourself up to take the next step to move forward in your life. And you'll be able to reclaim your self-confidence no matter what. And the key is to trust that life is bringing you challenges you need to reclaim those parts of you you've lost sight of. And that when you apply these 3 energetic shifts, not just in times of challenges, but throughout your whole life, throughout every day, you'll be able to stand in the energy of the confident you that is your true, authentic, fully empowered self. And just remember, just at the moment the caterpillar thought its world was coming to an end, that's when it transformed into a magnificent butterfly.
I love that. Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you found this episode helpful and that some of the tools we've shared with you, you can implement in your own life and share with other people as you follow and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. Until next time, we really want you to know there is so much more to you that you're yet to discover, and the key is to learn how to access the power within you, because when you do, anything and everything becomes possible. Bye for now.